In the United Kingdom, a woman probably died from being licked by her dog. This woman had a wound on her leg, which was licked by her granddaughter's dog, actually. The next day, she felt unwell and had to be taken to the emergency room, where she tested positive for the bacterium Pasteurella multocida, which is commonly found in the mouths of animals. Her condition continued to deteriorate until she went into sepsis and then died. Now, she was 83 years old and had kidney, liver, and heart conditions. Yeah, I guess if you have a weakened immune system, it's best not to let a dog slobber all over you. Not that I'm trying to blame the victim. It's scary how little it can take to kill a person sometimes. This isn't the first time a dog lick has killed a person. In 2019, a lick from a dog sickened a 63-year-old man from Germany who was actually previously healthy, which is a little concerning. However, this case was from the bacterium Capnocytophaga canamorsis, which is also commonly found in the mouths of dogs. Also in 2019, a woman from Ohio had to have her legs and hands amputated after getting the same infection, which she got when her dog licked a wound that she had. And in 2018, a man from Wisconsin had to get his hands, feet, and nose amputated from the same bacterium, and he was also previously healthy. Now, getting sick from a dog lick is very rare, but I guess you can just be unlucky. Well, anyways, speaking of amputations and Wisconsin, no jail for Wisconsin nurse who cut off man's foot without permission to use as frostbite prop. Wow. Okay. In May 2022, Mary Brown, then a nurse at the Spring Valley Senior Living and Healthcare Campus, amputated the left foot of Doug McFarland, who was suffering from severe frostbite following a fall at his home earlier that spring. Court documents reveal that McFarland's frostbite had caused necrosis in both feet. Brown used bandage scissors to snip the foot, which was held together only by skin and two tendons, without consent from McFarland, his physician, or the facility's administration. An administrator told police he had explicitly instructed Brown not to perform the amputation, although he acknowledged a doctor might have eventually approved it due to the foot's condition. Brown's stated intent was to ensure McFarland's comfort and dignity, but her actions violated medical protocols and patient autonomy. It was also reported from a colleague of Brown that her family owned a taxidermy shop, and Brown planned to preserve the foot for display with a sign reading "Wear your boots, kids," which is which is gross. Anyways, the nurse only had her nursing license suspended and got charged with a reduced misdemeanor charge of negligent abuse, which means she doesn't have to go to jail. I mean, according to the article, the amputation actually led to the death of the man, that's crazy if that's true, that she doesn't have to go to jail, even though she essentially killed a man. Anyways, let's move on to our next story. Down in Florida, a beloved rat, Chuck E. Cheese, shockingly, was arrested in the middle of a child's birthday party. The person inside the costume, anyways, was arrested for credit card fraud. He used a credit card that was lost, I think, at the Chuck E. Cheese location that he worked at, to rack up $105.57 in fraudulent charges. He also had a small amount of marijuana on his person, which is only legal for medical use in Florida. When asked if he had a medical license for marijuana, he said, "I was on my way to get one." Which I don't think that's how it works. I think you need the license before you have the marijuana. It doesn't matter. Anyways, the man seen here had also already been arrested for credit card fraud 6 months earlier. Dang, that is so sad. Why? I can't believe Chuck E. Cheese did this twice. Yeah, apparently the kids at the party were traumatized as well. According to one mother, her children were asking her questions like, "Does this mean Chuck E. Cheese is gone forever?" Sorry, that's not funny. Dad slams woke primary school for telling him not to dress as gorilla. This man, who works as a self-employed horse dentist, wore a gorilla costume to pick up his daughter from school to embarrass her. The school was not having it, though. They messaged him basically saying, "Your gorilla costume is a security concern, and also, frankly, it's scaring the children." The dad responded by calling the school woke and saying the following: "Safeguarding is about the safety of the kids. Dad in a gorilla outfit is not a safeguarding issue, let alone a serious one. It's taking the piss." I've had a lot of messages of support saying, "What on earth is this country coming to? A kid can identify as a cat, but a dad can't dress up as a gorilla." Wow, what a line. I mean, personally, I do think it's a good practice security-wise to confirm that children are being picked up by their actual guardian and not just some random person. Imagine going to pick up your daughter and saying, "Hey, where's my daughter?" And someone from the school responds, "Oh, the guy in a gorilla costume picked her up earlier." I'd be pretty upset if that's how my daughter got abducted, honestly. You can now Venmo the government to help pay off national debts. I mean, if you want to help, you can. Debt is currently more than $36 trillion. The ability to voluntarily give money to the government to help pay off the debt is not new. They're just adding the ability to pay with Venmo. In fact, in the fiscal year 2022, Americans voluntarily contributed a grand total of $180,310.32 to the national debt, which is not very much. Anyways, I don't know why anyone would voluntarily give money to the government. If you're donating money, why not save a child in Africa or whatever? I don't know. And just between you and me, right? But that doesn't actually matter, right? I mean, I've heard as long as the economy is growing faster than the debt, it's fine. I mean, the debt actually is currently growing faster than the economy, but regardless. Bat flies into a woman's mouth in Arizona, costing her nearly $21,000 in medical bills. So, a woman was visiting Arizona's most famous canyon, Glen Canyon. She was taking pictures of the night sky, and it was dark out. She was focused on her camera, so she wasn't looking when somehow a bat flew into her mouth. The woman had just lost her job as a biomedical engineer, and it would have cost $650 a month in order to keep her insurance. So she was uninsured. She decided to buy health insurance online before heading into a hospital to be treated for rabies. But it turns out that the policy she bought has a 30-day waiting period before she gets coverage, and she ended up with a bill of $20,749. So yeah, most health insurance plans will have a waiting period, so people don't just wait until they're sick to buy insurance. But like, hopefully you don't get sick or injured in the 30-day period when you are paying for insurance but have no coverage. I felt so powerless against these companies, she said. It should be a human right to have life-saving care covered. And most other countries, like in Europe, you just go to the hospital, you get your rabies vaccine, and you pay nothing. Yeah, if you look at a map of countries with some form of universal health care, it is every other developed country besides the US. And even some countries that aren't particularly developed, like Botswana, have universal health care. Not the US, though. We prefer to pay $20,000 every time a bat flies into our mouth. Yeah, I have this map here. You can see countries in blue have single payer universal health coverage. Countries in green have universal public insurance. Countries in purple, like Switzerland and the Netherlands, have universal private insurance. These light blue countries have a mix of public and private insurance that's universal. It's only the countries that are either in yellow or red that don't have universal health insurance. So basically, it's a bunch of like just underdeveloped countries, and then the United States. It's quite weird, actually. Over in the UK, the government just implemented legislation that requires websites that host 18 plus content to robustly age check users. This is nominally supposed to protect minors from accessing age inappropriate content, although age checks can be avoided relatively easily, for instance, by using a VPN. More importantly, though, these age checks add a significant security risk for anyone accessing 18 plus content. In order to robustly age check users, websites might employ methods like requiring a government ID to be presented. To illustrate why this is a problem, just recently there was an app called T that was hacked. So, T is an app for women that is used to gain more information about potential online matchups, including allowing users to anonymously communicate with each other about men. I think the idea is to help women avoid problematic men on dating websites. In order to ensure that the users are women and not men trying to infiltrate the platform, the app at one point required users to upload government IDs to verify their identities. Well, recently, T suffered a major data breach, revealing users' driver's license, direct messages, selfies, and other sensitive information. This is very serious. I imagine some of the women use the platform to spread awareness of an abusive partner they've had, for instance, and by using the app, they could have avoided retaliation from the abuser. But now that the information has been leaked, perhaps the abuser can see the direct messages on the site and see what's been said about them and retaliate. What if a similar data breach happens to one of these adult sites in the UK? I imagine perhaps it could reveal the user's porn viewing habits. It could, if someone watches LGBT plus content, perhaps it could out them, which could be dangerous. And what is exactly gained by this that couldn't just be achieved by parents assuming responsibility and monitoring their children's internet usage? Anyways, check out this article. Britain's most tattooed man claims he's unable to watch porn as new age check system mistakes his ink for a mask. So this man goes by the name of King of Inkland, King of Body Art, the Extreme Inkite. That's his name. He's been unable to access 18 plus content that requires users to upload a selfie. From the article, for King of Inkland, this is particularly tricky as the system believes he's wearing a mask, but it's actually his tattoo covered face. It keeps asking me to remove my face, the entrepreneur told Need to Know. Can't just do a Nicolas Cage or John Travolta like in Face Off. All this proves is that technology and AI are discriminatory and not set up for people with facial tattoos. Yeah, you probably should just get a VPN. Well, at least all that's over in the UK and doesn't affect me in the great country. Well, great is a strong word. In the good country of America. Um, wait, wait a minute. It's this on the YouTube blog. Extending our built-in protections to more teens on YouTube. Essentially, YouTube is implementing AI features to determine if users are under 18. And if AI detects that someone is under 18, 18 plus content will be blocked unless someone uploads a credit card or a government ID. Great. A cat named Leonardo da Vinci doesn't want your affection. He wants to steal your underwear. This is a story coming from Auckland, New Zealand, about a cat who steals clothes from clotheslines and even from people's bedrooms. From the AP. And he's got expensive taste. His frequent hauls include silk boxer shorts, thick men's work socks, and one mortifying episode for his humans, a brand new 300 New Zealand dollar cashmere sweater. Quote, my daughter was at home sick and she rang me at work saying, it's bad, it's bad. This is the worst thing he's brought in. It's really bad, said Leo's owner, Helen North, because it was beautiful. And I was like, oh, can I keep that? But I couldn't. Instead, North turned to a neighborhood WhatsApp group to return Leo's stolen goods to their rightful owners. Her usual message, are these your undies? The ire North expected over Leo's cat burgling antics didn't eventuate, although one of his targets, who is allergic to cats, now dries her laundry indoors. All of our neighbors think he's amazing, he said. Some of them are quite put out that hasn't actually stolen anything of theirs. Still, North has tried everything to curb her cat's laundry obsession, from attempting to keep him indoors to leaving out clothes at home for him to steal. No luck. He only wants stuff that he shouldn't have, she said. I like how someone online commented that maybe Leonardo needs another cat to play with, and the owner was like, no, Leonardo might teach the other cat to do this, and then I would have two underwear stealing cats. Uh, I guess stealing laundry isn't as bad as decimating New Zealand's native wildlife, which cats are known for in New Zealand. I always I always like finding a way to make happy stories sad. On to our last article of the week. Mysterious ring camera footage sparks alien speculation. Ooh, this is a story from Compton, California. First, let's watch the video from the ring camera of the supposed alien. So you can see in the bottom right of the screen. There it is. There's the alien. Yeah, the owner of the house, whose name is Jessica Ortiz, showed it to her son. Quote, he sat up on his bed and he played it like 3 times, Ortiz told NBC Los Angeles. When he was done on the third one, he was like, Mom, it's an alien. Call the police. I was like, I'm not calling the police on an alien. I would sound crazy. Anyways, I think Ortiz still thinks it's an alien. He said, I think God is too creative for us to be the only ones with life, she said. Oh, I think that's kind of nice. Yeah, and this is the other type of life that God came up with this thing. Well, that's all the news I have this week. The next video probably will be another weird news report because the last video I made about lightning, pretty much everybody hated, which is fine. I get it.